there, writers and muse daters. I'm so excited to be with you here today with Lauren, and we have some exciting news that we want to share coming straight out of the writing gym. Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So we were in Salon recently, and I presented you guys with a pretty interesting prompt, and I want to talk about that for sure. But first, for people who aren't in the writing gym, have no idea what this writing gym thing is, never mind a salon, fill us in a little bit. What is this thing that we're talking about, writing gym, salon? What is this all about?
Well, the writing gym is more or less a community for writers and a place for writers to grow and learn, and it's amazing for that. And then within that, there are salons that you can participate in, usually about once a week, and then I think 4 times a year, an open salon, where basically a group of writers gets together on a video chat. We get a prompt and then 20 minutes to write, which always sounds insanely short, but is surprisingly effective. And the only goal is that you just write for those 20 minutes and try not to let the inner critic or whatever else is going on in your head get in the way. And then we all get feedback at the end, immediate feedback that's positively focused and helps us hone in on what our strengths are as writers. Awesome, I love them.
Yeah, and I've seen you post in the Facebook group before over in Write to Publish that the salon is one of your favorite parts of the writing gym.
Absolutely, it is. I look forward to them every time.
And you know, I'm going to spill the beans on you a little bit here. I think that the salon was responsible for some huge growth that you had in the last year of your life, around the way that it changed who you are as a writer. What did that sound like, feel like, look like?
Well, and I mean, yes, you're absolutely right. So I'm one of those writers that gets stuck in my own head way too much. And if you took a salon, the idea of a salon, and presented it to me a year ago, I would have gone, you know, like, oh my God, no, 20 minutes and a prompt. And like, here's what I would have done. I would have looked at my screen for like 5 minutes, and then I would have like, you know, probably checked Facebook, maybe scribbled a couple notes down, and then like stared at my screen again. And by the end of the 20 minutes, I wouldn't have written like anything. And I'd be giving myself the excuse of like, well, it's only 20 minutes. What the heck am I supposed to write in 20 minutes? But by following like the salon rules and just writing, I've been able to crack through that part of my brain that always gets in my way. And so that, more than anything else, is what's made this huge difference for me in my writing the last few months.
That is amazing. I mean, that's a huge celebration in and of itself. We've got a bigger thing we're going to talk about today. So we were writing in Salon. Tell us a little bit about the prompt that I presented that was a little bit different from our normal prompts.
Yeah, so that one was Valentine's Day themed. And before we even got started, you gave us all like an assignment to brainstorm, basically. I don't remember who got what. There were, you know, things that could go wrong in a romantic relationship, things you might find in a chocolate shop, stuff like that. And each participant in the salon had like a minute to just jot down whatever came to mind on their thing. And then once we sort of had the brain juices flowing, you were like, okay, now smush all that together. And we're in a chocolate shop from the perspective of a chocolatier, and we're writing about Valentine's Day. Go. And so it was a little different from what we normally do, but it was really, really interesting, especially because of the way that it got started. So
great. And tell us a little bit about the story that you put together.
So the story that I put together in Salon was not quite where I wanted it to be yet, but it was super, it got me really thinking. And mine was basically dealing with a chocolatier whose chocolate talks to her. And, you know, she's used that to set up all of these other couples and help their romantic relationships work, while hers is just sort of on the back burner.
And then at the end of the salon, I sprung a surprise on all of you about why I had chosen this particular writing prompt. So spill the beans on me. What did I do to you guys?
You were like, surprise, there's a contest with basically the same prompt. And I think that got all of our attention. And so it definitely got mine. And I went, you know, after Salon and spent some time writing and polishing up what I had and submitted something.
Yeah. Well, and this was particularly exciting for me because, I had met this editor and I got talking with her. We were sitting next to each other at a conference and doing what you do when you meet someone. And I was telling her about the writing gym and she said, I can't wait. Will you please, please, please send me some of your writers' writing? So this was not only a contest, but by invitation from the writing gym. So you submitted your story that you wrote in Salon to the contest, and then what happened?
It placed.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I got word yesterday, and then the results were officially published today, that I placed in the top 3 with my story. And that was really super exciting for me. So as part of that, it will be published in this collection of double chocolate stories that'll be available through Alexa devices. And I'm just really excited.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And I mean, we just had a Facebook Live from one of the participants here in Write to Publish who asked Alexa, play the Writing Gym podcast and up it came, right? And so now we're going to get to hear Lauren's story by asking Alexa. Did they tell you what you need to ask Alexa in order to hear the story that you wrote?
So I believe you would say, Alexa, open my box of chocolates. And then from there, you can pick the specific collection of chocolates that you want to listen to. Mine will be in the Valentine's Day batch. And then my specific story is called Tricky Truffle Surprise.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay. And I know that you have a young daughter. I can just picture her like listening to mommy's story over and over and over again. Do you think that'll happen?
Probably. The editor went ahead and sent me a sound bite of it. And so my daughter has already listened to that, and I think she really enjoyed it.
That's really amazing. But it's not specifically for kids, it's for everyone.
No, it's not a kid's story. I mean, it's kid friendly, as in like there's nothing inappropriate in it, but yeah, it's for grown-ups.
That's amazing. Well, we are so proud of you, Lauren. This is just amazing that this has happened for you. And actually, I mean, while we're on celebrating Lauren, this is your second publication since you've been in the writing gym.
It is.
So tell us about the first time that it happened.
So the first one also sort of weirdly came from a salon. It wasn't a story that I wrote in Salon, but it was well, I'll stop and say this. Anytime that you participate in a salon, or at least for me, I find that I'm much more creative following that for several hours or maybe even several days. It's just the way it sort of opens up your brain and gets you thinking. And so a lot of times I have really productive writing sessions after salon. And I don't know, several weeks ago, a couple months ago, we'd had a salon that really intrigued me. And it had brought up this old story idea that I had totally shelved ages ago and been like, I don't know how to write that. I don't know what to do with it. And then I just sort of sat down and wrote it like, there it is. And it came out really quickly. And I was like, wow, I think this is what I was trying to write ages ago and I didn't know how. And I loved it. So I submitted it to an anthology's call for submissions. It got picked and now it's published. I actually have the book.
Yeah, show us the book. This is amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay. So it's called Beneath Strange Stars.
Yeah. So this one is available on Amazon right now. And my story's in here on page 107. So that was super exciting. And it's something that I don't think would have happened without the writing gym and without salons, because I've just been way too much in my own way prior to doing this.
Oh, that is amazing. Would you read us the opening of your story?
Oh, sure. Probably don't need to open this to do it, but I will anyway. Boxes aren't supposed to have heartbeats, but mine did. I rubbed my fingers across its smooth surface and across the seam where it would open if I ever opened it, but that wasn't allowed. A proper girl would simply vanish if she ever did a thing like that, my grandmother once told me. The very idea.
Ooh, dun dun dun! Lots of great suspense there. Great pacing, Lauren.
Thank you.
That's amazing. So, how are you feeling right now about your life as a writer?
Really good, but also there's sort of this weird sense of I don't know what to call it, disbelief maybe, or almost like disconnect, because this is something that for the longest time just seemed like something that other people accomplish, but not me, because I didn't know how to do it yet. And so I still sort of find that I'm walking around going, wait a second, I actually published something. Like, I have a published thing now, and that still just doesn't feel quite real. But I'm really excited about it. I'm really trying to just enjoy these first steps in my career as an actual writer, and I'm thrilled.
That's amazing. And you and I have talked about this what I'm going to ask you before, but we haven't talked about it since you've published.
Mhm.
If you could look back to a year ago and like whisper to Lauren a year ago in her ear and say, that writing gym that you're thinking about doing, here's what's going to happen. I mean, what would you have thought back then if you had known that you were not only going to learn to be your best writer, not only get into creative flow and stop the inner critic, but get published twice, like right out of the gate? What would you whisper to yourself?
I honestly, I thought about it and I've thought about it, and I don't know what it would have taken to convince me, because I'm the most nervous, doubtful person in the world. But if there was a way for me to tiptoe back in time, and it actually would be almost 2 years ago, I think, that I first met you at a writers conference, and say like, hey, this is really going to work out for you. If there was a way to like condense the 2 years in between then and now, and just sort of show myself like a reel of all of the needless trouble I was going to put myself through, that would be what would do it. Because that's really what it was, like 2 years of pointless turmoil, when really what I needed was kind of already right there. I just didn't realize it. So that's what I would do, I think.
Yeah, and tell me about that pointless turmoil. Like, what did that look like for you? What kinds of things were you doing?
Um, Digging for resources, reading a million different resources, a lot of them conflicting with each other, which just got me confused, going, which one do I listen to? And then a lot of random, also conflicting feedback on things that I had written, which also left me confused. And I think that when I did finally reach out and join the writing gym, that was one of the first things that I said to you is, I just want knowledgeable feedback. I want to understand what's good about my writing, and then what I need to improve and how to improve it. And I always consider myself to be a resourceful person, but I had no idea how difficult those things are to find on your own. And so that's, to me, that's the huge value in the writing gym, is like knowledgeable insider industry information, knowledgeable feedback, and then true understanding of how the writing process works, so that you can be your best writer.
Oh, well, that's amazing. And as you said that part, it sort of made me think about the modules, right? I started out by asking, what's this writing gym thing? What's the salon? And there is teaching. And so I'm going to let you spill the beans on the writing gym, but what does that look like? Like, what kinds of things are you learning about? How is it helping you to be here and watch those modules?
Really just breaks down the craft of writing to bite-sized pieces that make sense individually, but then stack up together in a way that also makes perfect sense. So it takes writing professionally and successfully from being this big, nebulous, mysterious thing into something that you can actually understand and then implement.
That's awesome. Well, I said it about 18 times so far, but we are just super, super proud of you, your progress, your growth as a writer, your publications. I mean, we're working on your novel, so the sky's the limit here. We're only going up, up, up. Is there anything that I didn't ask you about today, Lauren, that you also wanted to celebrate or talk about?
I think we've covered it. For the most part, I would just sum it up by saying that I don't know why I didn't join the writing gym earlier. I'm thrilled to be here, and that this has done wonders for me as a writer. And I really hope this is only just the beginning of where there's left to go.
Yes. Wonderful. There's only up to go from here. All right, everyone who's watching, if you're watching later, please do send your congratulations out to Lauren. She's doing a great job, and we just love having her in the writing gym. Until next time, happy writing.